Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Trump Trolls Trump, the show where one person with a certain last name relentlessly, and I would have to say, legitimately mocks another person who just happens to have the exact same last name. As always, I'm going to let you decide who is who. Yes, it has been 138 days since the reanimated corpse of the Trump regime came back into the Oval Office. And we're going to take a look back at week 19. And what a week it was, actually. A little more lighthearted than we're used to. We started off the week laughing about tacos. No, not the things that, gringos eat on Tuesdays. No, we're talking about the Trump always chickens out kind of taco. What's fabulous is that we ended up from that very low point with a much lower point. The very public and quite humiliating breakup of a celebrity couple. And as far as the breakup is concerned, of course, I'm talking about Elon Musk and frenemy, pseudo friend, whatever you want to call him, Donald. And they split up after 2 years of being essentially attached at the hip by Elon Musk's vast fortune. It's a very heartwarming story. And I just want to say, like, I don't like to take sides, right? I really don't. It's between them, right? I can try to encourage them to get it all out, just to unburden themselves of any painful secrets that might be interfering with their ability to heal, to mend the wounds that they have each inflicted on each other and perhaps that they've inflicted on themselves. Who knows? I'm a clinical psychologist. I know these things. It is not healthy to keep things inside, right? To even if you think you're protecting somebody else, we don't need it. We're all adults here. We can handle it. We want to help you guys get through this. And again, the best way to do this, tell us everything. But before we get to that, Donald, I have to give him credit. I mean, not that he had anything to do with it, but he will get credit for it and he'll take credit for it. He appointed Karoline Leavitt as White House press secretary. She's amazing. I mean, considering she's only 27 years old, she's the whole package. The pseudo Christian, the allegedly God-fearing, the actually condescending hypocrite who lies with the fluency. How can I put this properly to give her the credit that she should be due? She lies with the fluency of Donald Trump. I mean, it's just breathtaking. I don't even know if he lied as well as he does now when he was 27. She fits hand in glove, right? But this week, when she was asked about Donald's response to the elections in South Korea, she did not have an easy time of it. So let's watch.
Just does the White House have a reaction to the results of the election in South Korea?
Yes, we do. In fact, let me find it here for you. It should be somewhere in here. Thank you. We do not, but I will get you one, Jeff.
I'm a little disappointed. Usually she doesn't need notes to lie. And I know this is a deep cut, but for those of you who know, that was definitely a Janine Pirro moment, by the way. Anyway, before we go on, please remember that we here at Mary Trump Media do not bend the knee. We are not now, and we never will be for sale. Every day here, we expose the lies the Trump regime tells and wants to keep buried, and we expose their bullshit to the light. So please like and share our videos and subscribe to our channel if you support our mission. Leavitt, of course, because this is the Trump regime, is not the only liar in town. Far from it. We've spoken many times about how every accusation coming from Donald or the White House or the executive branch is a confession, right? I mean, this is a truism at this point. Whatever deceitful, despicable, sometimes illegal or unconstitutional claim they make against other people, that's what we call a tell. It means that they're probably doing those very same things behind the scenes. They give themselves away every time. Over on Fox State TV, Lara Trump interviewed White House resident Nazi Stephen Miller on how the administration intends to, quote unquote, restore the republic. Whatever that means, and whatever that means to them, I'm not entirely sure I want to know. During his answer, Miller revealed something we've all been thinking. Take a look.
Restoring the republic look like? I know that's basically the overall goal over this 4-year term for President Trump. You're a big player in that. So what does that mean, and how do you restore the republic?
When President Trump talks about restoring the republic, he means restoring a country in which the fundamental loyalty and allegiance we have is to the American citizen who does everything right. And then look around them, and everybody else that isn't doing it right is getting rewarded. So the scammers and grifters in Washington, D.C. are getting rich. The illegal aliens are getting rich. The criminals are getting away with everything.
Yeah, I mean, except for the second part about illegal aliens. How dare you use that term, you little Nazi? Are getting rich? How exactly? Like, is there a gold mine in being illegally detained and disappeared to a foreign country and put in a gulag? Who knew? Who knew? But yes, the scammers, the grifters, the criminals, look in the fucking mirror. Yeah, they're all getting rich at our expense. It is just sort of mind-boggling to me at this point that these people can pretend that they're not the deep state, that they're not the swamp. They're literally running the entire government. Who falls for this anymore? So let's continue to call it the corruption. And apparently, we can count on Stephen Miller to keep doing that. Cool. This week, Josh Hawley, senator, remember he was the guy who pumped his fist at the January 6th rioters at the Capitol and then ran away, right? Ran away when he realized that, oh my God, they actually really want to kill all of us. Oops, maybe I backed the wrong side. No, he didn't. Well, he showed up to his Senate hearing this week with some homemade charts that claim Donald has been getting a raw deal. I mean, we know that he's serving raw meat at his golf clubs, but I don't know if Donald's getting a raw deal. So Hawley's argument is this: Donald has had more injunctions than any other previous president, and obviously that's because of bias? Sure, but Professor Kate Shaw was having absolutely none of it. Watch her answer to Hawley's absolutely absurd claim.
The principle of when an injunction binding non-parties, which was never done in this country before the 1960s. And let's see the chart, the Trump chart, which was done really only once Trump came into office for the first time. Now, you don't think this is a little bit anomalous? You don't think that's a little bit strange?
A very plausible explanation,
the
Senator, you have to consider is that he is engaged in much more lawless activity than other presidents.
How complicated could it possibly be? He's a criminal. Of course there are more injunctions against him. He breaks the law and violates the Constitution every fucking day of his life. In other robot news, love that segue. So much happened this week that it was easy to overlook this next story, and we are not going to let you. Because it's sort of right in Donald's wheelhouse, right? This to me is sort of the perfect distillation of how desperately he's flailing amidst all of the failures. Yes, the flailing and the failing. Donald reposted a conspiracy theory. I mean, he actually believed that this was going to change the subject away from his absolutely horrific and humiliating week. He reposted a conspiracy theory that claimed, check it out, Joe Biden had been assassinated back in 2020 because the real Joe Biden couldn't possibly have beaten Donald legitimately in an election and was replaced by some kind of clone or robot, because clearly a clone or a robot of Joe Biden could legitimately beat Donald in an election. Now, this argument is, I want to make sure we get this straight, okay? A healthy Joe Biden was replaced during the pandemic with a clone or robot, that was barely coherent and confused. He couldn't sign his own name, but then somehow was also a criminal mastermind who ran his own international crime family, right? So again, a clone or robot replaced a reasonably healthy Joe Biden so that the robot could sign Biden's name with an auto pen because the robot was incapable of signing with an actual pen because the robot was that stupid. And, well, I guess robots aren't stupid, but that unadvanced, and yet was a criminal mastermind when it came to running his crime family's international scams. What's the problem with that? I think that makes perfect sense. Anyway, this is John Roberts, not the Chief Justice of the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court. Although, you know what, give it time. On Fox State Television, trying to explain this away, only to have guest Kaylee White pivot and bring it up again as a definite possibility, because of course it is. Watch this.
Apparently, Donald Trump reposted somebody's post on Truth Social claiming that Biden had been executed in 2020 and was replaced by a robotic clone. Clearly, President Trump did not believe that, but he put it out there. And here's what the New York Times wrote. Trump amplifies another outlandish conspiracy theory. Biden is a robotic clone. President Trump reposted another user's false claim that the former president had been executed in 2020 and replaced by a robotic clone. I mean, I know Trump's sense of humor. I'm sure he was just trolling him. What do you think?
Well, I would hope so. But I think also it gets to the real heart of the scandal, which is who in the world was president for the past 4 years if it wasn't Joe Biden? Was it a clone? Was it a cable of White House officials?
Wait, what? Okay, so first of all, Donald doesn't really have a sense of humor unless it revolves around being cruel to somebody. So there's that. He's not funny. Secondly, he reposted somebody else's conspiracy theory to troll that person, even though he doesn't believe in said conspiracy theory. That tracks. But it does get us to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? The question we've all been asking, with the question we are still asking ourselves, because it's not like anything else is going on in the world we need to worry about. No, the burning question of our time. Who was president for that 4 years that Joe Biden pretended that he was in the White House? Of course it was a robot clone. My word. So what else is going on? It is all in Donald's tweets. We've talked previously on the show about Tammy Bruce, who's the spokesperson for the Department of State. She's back at it again this week, which is never a good thing. In a press conference this week, Bruce was asked about whether there would be continued talks on diplomatic issues. And instead of taking the question seriously, because it is a serious question, especially given how many issues we're dealing with across the world that require both diplomacy and statecraft, she laughed at the reporter who asked the question. And then she gave a truly, truly bizarre response. Watch this.
Well, you did see the President Trump tweet, didn't
yes,
you?
But I didn't think that would completely negate the reporting.
I appreciate that. I think that's the biggest guffaw I've had here. The thing that matters when it comes to American policy and what's happening is what President Trump thinks and says. This is the Trump administration. The president leads this. The president guides this. It is his guiding hand. It is the American people are happy with that. They elected him for his expertise and his focus. So President Trump's, not quite sure where you would think where President Trump's statement would not be the final dynamic here, and that in fact maybe reports could be wrong.
That's not what I said.
All right.
Wow, how dare you not take a tweet as serious business on behalf of the government? Wow. Seriously, where do they find these deeply deluded people? He is the guiding hand. Like, what is this? An episode of The Handmaid's Tale? I don't understand where these people come from, although I do understand why they keep putting them out there, because they will do whatever they're asked to do in order to push the absolute bullshit Donald wants them to push in order to make it seem like he's in charge of anything. or knows what he's talking about. Yes, the American people voted for Donald Trump because he's so focused and expert. No, they voted for him, those who did, because they were lied to about the economy and they hate immigrants. It's really that simple. And now, sadly, it is time for the final rose ceremony, which I confess to you, I did not know what that meant because I did not watch the show in which that is a thing. Anyway, it means that somebody must exit the scene. It was a tough week, and this is where we started for love. Well, I don't think that's the word. It was a tough week for transactional relationships, and Donald and Elon Musk are not immune. They're basically, this is what happened. Their completely fake bromance was revealed to have been completely fake, and their gargantuan narcissism collided, resulting in a real-time feud on social media that was both humiliating for them and America, because the entire world was laughing at both them and us. I mean, we can laugh out loud about it. I literally ran out of popcorn. I can't remember the last time I ate that much popcorn. I can't. But, you know, it's a terrible look when the ostensible leader of America and the guy he basically gave an enormous amount of power are found incapable of keeping their thoughts to themselves and have to broadcast their insanity to the entire planet. You know that it's and this is the sad part, because this was an intimate, very personal breakup. And how do we know this? Well, because Inside Edition joined the conversation. Watch this report.
The bromance is definitely over. President Trump and Elon Musk erupted into a nasty public feud today.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
The extraordinary squabble happened before the eyes of the world as the president was meeting with the Chancellor of Germany in the Oval Office. He claims Musk has turned against him because the big, beautiful bill removes the tax credits for buying electric cars like Teslas.
I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here.
Musk was listening and he responded in real time, basically calling Trump a liar. False. This bill was never shown to me even once, he declared on social media as Trump bashed him. Such ingratitude. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. The president says Musk has a case of Trump derangement syndrome.
He's not the first. People leave my administration, they leave, and they wake up in the morning, and the glamour's gone, the whole world is different, and they become hostile.
You could see he looked visibly sad when talking about this fraying relationship with someone that he has viewed for so long now as a good friend of his.
The rift is reportedly so deep, Musk won't even take calls from the White House.
Members of Trump's team have reached out to Elon Musk. No response.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know it well anymore. I was surprised.
So sorry. I just love it when the media actually pretend that the narrative being spun by the White House or Elon Musk or whoever is accurate, and they just run with it. He looked visibly sad. He's upset about this thing that wasn't even a thing. Again, this was transactional. These are two egomaniacs who also suffer, colloquially speaking, from malignant narcissism, and each of them has to be the most important person in the room, in the universe. Each of them has to be the center of the universe. Only one person can be that. So of course this is what was going to happen. You don't end a relationship like that unless you're not getting anything out of it anymore. That's all that was going on. You also don't get into a relationship like that unless you're getting something out of it. Just ask Donald's children. Anyway, before we go, and you could ask Melania too, because she definitely got a really good post-nup lawyer. Anyway, before we go, I'd like to take one last look at this just like heartfelt, moving romance if you will, between Donald Trump and the much lamented Elon Musk. I give you the final rose.
We love Elon, don't we? It's that guy, he's a character.
The true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. You know, they say I wear a lot of hats, and as you can see, it's true. Even my hat has a hat.
I'm not just MAGA. I'm dog gothic MAGA.
Yeah. That almost made me cry, but I feel too sick. Anyway, thanks for joining us for this week's edition of Trump Trolls Trump. It was great to have you here. And do not despair. There will be so much more in the not too distant future to mock about Donald and the Trump regime. See you guys soon.